I didn't see the thing come on that says this meeting is being recorded. Is it being recorded? And?
Yes, it's being recorded.
Okay, the little thing hasn't come on.
One moment.
This meeting is being recorded.
There it is. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the June 14th meeting of the Community Enhancement Grant Program. Would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mayor McGriff. I'm happy to call the roll. Commissioner Adam Marl,
Here.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell,
Here.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Here.
We have an absence from Commissioner O'Donnell. Lori Arinello.
Here.
Mayor McGriff.
Madam Mayor?
Am I missing something?
And I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone again to tonight's meeting where we'll be talking about the community enhancement grants. This was a very busy and competitive year for Oregon City. We received 19.
Ann, can you hold on just a minute? We need to go through the minutes before we get to your staff report. So let's have the approval of the minutes of the meeting of the 15th of May, 2023. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the minutes from May 15th, 2023 meeting.
I have a clarification, actually. The
Is
minutes
there a
say,
second?
hold
Hold on,
on.
there's a clarification.
The minutes say May 18th, but the minutes on the report say May 15th.
It was Monday the
May
15th,
18th.
whatever the Monday was.
Sorry.
Can you change that, Mike?
Move to approve the minutes of the May 18th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
We need a second.
There was a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approval of the minutes of May 18th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. I think that was unanimous.
Correct.
Okay, under new business and discussion items, we have a report from the staff on the extension request from Soulflags, Friends of the Ermatinger, Downtown Oregon City Association. Are you giving a report, Ann?
Yes, and again, thank you all for coming this evening to the Enhancement Grant Program Committee's annual discussion of our program proposals. We're going to begin tonight's meeting with 3 extension requests that we've received from Friends of Ermatinger House, from Soulflags, and from the Downtown Oregon City Association. And I know we had some discussion at our May meeting of potentially grouping some of those requests. Do we just want to have each applicant is prepared to come up and make a brief presentation explaining the need for the extension?
So we're going to use a timer. We're going to give people 5 minutes or so. Does that sound appropriate?
A very good question. Everybody who's making a presentation tonight we're asking you to stick to 3 minutes. And it's my fun job to put up a sign when you're down to a minute left, and then when you're down to 30 seconds left. So that's.
I think it's okay if they have 5.
Okay.
Respectfully, there are 17 of them.
I think, I'm going to say that. I
The
think,
extension request.
Oh, just for the extension request.
oh,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So for the
Okay. Not that we don't want to hear from you all. We also would like to get home eventually.
Yeah. So Ann, would you call them up, please? So first one would be
the first
Soulflags.
one, Soulflags, yes, please.
And who's on deck, just so we can get them ready?
And Friends of Ermatinger is on deck.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. My name's Tima Carlson.
Give your name and city of record for the record.
Tima Carlson, a resident of Oregon City and a volunteer at Soulflags Art Community Center located in Oregon City.
I cannot hear her at all.
That's because my mic was not on, I apologize. Tima Carlson, a resident of Oregon City, volunteer at Soulflags, our community center, a nonprofit located in Oregon City on Main Street. We were awarded in 2021 the Metro Enhancement Grant for creating 5 mosaic panels to be located on the exterior of our building, located at the intersection of 99E and Main Street in Oregon City. We did the community involvement project where we had individuals paint 6-inch square tiles with glazes that are in process of being fired in a kiln. Again, we are in process of doing that. We have been painstakingly going through the tiles to just verify that you can tell what it is that was created. So we're adding fine details here and there to the tiles, and then painting a clear glaze over it to prevent risk of graffiti, and then placing them in the kiln. We can do only, 10 to 15 per kiln firing, and it's when we're not doing our just regular commercial kiln firings. So it has taken a little bit longer to process, but we have 50% of the tiles have had the final review with the fine glaze, outlines, and clear coat added. And then 30% of our tiles have been fired. We have one that's finished and on metal currently. We are working with the building owner who wants to paint the building prior to installation of our panels. She also had several strokes and was in the hospital, and is currently, I believe, in the hospital again, suffering from that. Working with the building owner and waiting for the building to be painted. But we do plan, once that is completed, to place them first, providing the mural application to the Arts Commission, and then getting them installed on the building. So, once we get the building owner to approve and finalize the paperwork, we'll be submitting that to the Arts Commission for review, and then within hopefully a couple weeks, and have it up and done.
So you're expecting within the next 6 months to be completed?
We're hoping by August we would have it finished, but again, depending on their painting schedule, it could delay it, potentially more than that. So we're kind of at the whim of the building owner, but they are, as I said, one is finished. We have 4 more that are in process, and once we get the green light, we can easily install them onto the building. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Tima. Are
You're
there any
welcome.
questions of the commission?
No.
Do you want to vote on these individually as we hear them? Okay, so is there a motion to approve the extension?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the extension for Soulflags as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign, and there are no extensions. Thank you very much, Tima.
Thank you,
Okay, let's
appreciate
call
it.
up Friends of- You're welcome, thank you. Let's call Friends of the Ermatinger. Hal?
And if you could sit at that mic, that one's on, yeah.
It's good to see y'all.
Hang on just a minute, Ray. Sure. Let Ann get resettled here from Steve giving us instructions. Thank you, Ray, go ahead.
You think it's possible?
Oh, no, he was adjusting the view on
I thought he
Zoom.
was, okay. Well, it's good to be here,
Go ahead,
and
Ray.
it's good to be here and to give a
Name
little
for
bit.
the record, please.
I'm Ray Gordon, Oregon City. It's good to be here to ask for an extension. We have got all the filming done, all the interviews are done, all the writing is done. So this is the video that showcases the Ermatinger house. And I got to tell you, I got to see the beginning part of the video that he's done. I don't know if you have, but I sent a link to her to share with you, and I actually got teared up. It's very beautifully done, and it's going to be a real showpiece for the Ermatinger House and for Oregon City in general. And so what we're waiting on is we used people that are highly trained and highly sought after film crew, that we're doing all the films that come in, and what we're waiting on is to finish the editing, and we're going to do a little voiceover, and then we're ready to do the pitch, but we're just finishing on the editing. That's all that's needs to be done.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And timeline for that?
Okay, are there any questions of the commission,
Timeline for that?
committee, excuse me?
The what?
What's the
Any
timeline?
questions?
What's the timeline for that?
Oh, the time, we're looking at September 1st. So everything, so,
Since I can't see you all the time, you need to let me know that you wanted to speak.
so this is
Do
Ray.
you have any questions? Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, do you have any
Any
questions
other
for?
questions? Is there a motion?
So I have a question unrelated, and that would be if the mayor might be willing to have someone on the dais here chair the meeting who's able to see the audience and the people speaking.
I can see the audience, I just couldn't see Lori because she was talking so low.
Okay.
I can see everybody.
And also, if I have more time, and I don't know if it could be queued up, but there's a link available to see the beginning of it. And I don't know if that's possible.
Staff said that we don't have time, unfortunately, Ray.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the extension for the Friends of the Ermatinger House.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the extension for the Friends of the Ermatinger, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed?
I
Any
need to
abstentions?
I need to abstain.
And can we note that
Okay, one
Christina's not
abstention.
here still?
I was involved
in that project, so I'm
abstaining.
And you look great on camera. You look good, Rocky. You look great on camera. Hope you guys can see it.
Members of,
Did I send you the link? Okay, good. Isn't it pretty?
Of course he looks great on camera. All right.
For the members of the Ermatinger House, I'm, for the members of our committee and for anyone else who contacts me, I'm happy to share the 30-second preview that Ray provided that does show how the video production is coming along. So I will forward that to people after tonight's meeting.
Okay.
Okay, next we have the Friends of the Downtown Oregon City Association.
And who's on deck with that?
Here in a minute.
Kelly Upkeep.
Yeah.
We do have something to pass out too. I don't know if we can do that or not.
We have the two proposals. I think they all probably have the letter. I think they do.
Do you want to make sure your mic's on? That red button?
It's glowing.
Okay, perfect. I can see you.
And while she's passing it out, for the name of the record, your name and address.
Tima Carlson again, Oregon City resident.
Kelly Upkeys, Oregon City resident.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, we are here to discuss extension of DOCA's grant for the lighting along Main Street. As stated in our extension request, there was a change in costs over the several years that, we had originally received our bids, and prices increased to the point where it was not, the two grant requests was not enough to pay for completion of the project. So we have kind of made, changes as needed to work within this budget that we have already received of the two $50,000 grants. We did have changes within DOCA. Our executive director, Liz Hannum, moved on to a different entity on the East Coast last month. And then we are losing another volunteer staff member, Marcy Jory, next week. So, Kelly and myself, we're volunteers for DOCA, I'm sorry. And, we're doing our best to make this a realization. So you have two quotes that were recently provided that would be within our budget with the DOCA matching that 30%. So, we're having a meeting this Friday to decide on which of these two quotes the board members approve of. And we'll go on from there. If fundraising is necessary, we'll have to do additional fundraising to raise that additional 15,000. Is there anything I'm missing?
I think so, other than, we understand the time sensitivity of this, and it's unfortunate that our original vision just had too many obstacles and was too absorbent to take on. These two are really in line with, I think, a lot of our business owners that we've polled, and we know the sliding project is very important to the business owners on Main Street and the community at large, so.
Can you explain the decision to go with the large well lights? I'm noticing some of them are placed seemingly under benches and.
Yeah, that was one that was processed most recently, and I believe it only goes to one block, you were saying, so it's.
Yeah, 2 blocks. So White Rabbit has those puck lights currently in the sidewalk in front of their building, and so there's been some community members saying that they find that was an attractive option. So we did let Oregon Outdoor Lighting give us a proposal on that. Holiday lighting covers a longer span of Main Street, and they would be attached to the tops of the roof line of the buildings.
Does the light well one cover the saw cutting of the coring?
Yes.
Each one of those lights is shown. That's including cutting the sidewalk to provide power to all of those lights.
That's their estimate, yes. It was supposed to be and is all-inclusive.
But again, it's only for a couple
Cordial or
blocks,
conduit
not for
for
the
the-
entire length of Main Street from 7th to 9090.
This is the first time we've seen this new concept, am I right?
Yes.
Then this is not an extension. This is a whole new project. So the project that was approved was very specifically across the street, lighting on certain blocks. This is not the same project. I understand the struggles because a lot of them were with the city, but to me, that's the project, and that's the project that should be happening because that was the project that got the green light from this committee and got the green light from the city. And if after the fact they couldn't figure it out, then that's a problem, and they need to figure it out, or we need to figure out how to move forward. I honestly think that if that other project was a way better project and it's smaller, but it had a lot of other complications to it, but that's the project we approved. And in that, my gut feeling is then all the money needs to be returned to us, and this needs to be a new grant. Because if this is what they want to go forward, because this is a whole different project. Especially since the Downtown Association spent more than 2 years promoting images that showed this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to build, this is what we're going to create, and donate money towards it, and it's still not happening. I have a real problem with that. I would like to see that original project, I would like to see us push. I think this group should push for that original project. And I think that push needs to be a big shove at Public Works to figure it out. And yeah, it's gonna be an extensive cost, but people wanted that project, and I think there could be an effort made to move forward on it.
The last figures that were thrown at us for that canopy
Yeah.
were upwards of 800,000.
Because I would
Mike,
really.
do you have any comment? Oh, no, sorry, Rocky, I didn't know you weren't done.
No, I guess I would say I just really would hate to see us, not fully think that through and realize it's done if we were, because if we're gonna grant this, then this project starts and it defeats ever going back to that other project. So that's a struggle. Anyway, I guess I'll just leave it at that. I think this is a different project, and that other project, if it isn't happening, the money needs to come back, and then this needs to be thought of as a new project, and whether we if downtown wants to go forward with this whole new project, then maybe we throw this in the pile of tonight's grants, unless they, because I doubt they want to wait another year, but I will say this is Public Works' fault.
Just for clarification, the enhancement grant works on a reimbursement basis, so because DOCA hasn't
Right,
spent any money,
right.
they haven't gotten.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Mike, do you have any comments for Adam?
Well, first off, we're seeing, as Rocky said, we're seeing two proposals that we've never seen before. And DOCA has not made a decision on which one they want to go forward with. And yet we're being asked to extend the time on $100,000. And I agree with Commissioner Smith. I'm having real trouble with that. And this is the business I was in. And as I look at this, and obviously I've seen it for 5 minutes, but I don't personally see either one of these happening for $100,000. I see one of them a $3,200 a year contract for maintenance for 3 years. Where's the money for that? This is just too much of a curve being thrown at us tonight for me to support it as an extension.
I agree for the same reasons.
I concur.
Lori?
I concur.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion then?
Motion to table? Is that what we do with this?
No, they're asking for an extension. So it's, we either approve the extension or we don't approve the extension. There's a motion.
I'll move to deny the extension.
I second.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the extension request be denied. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And any abstentions, and that would be mine. I'm abstaining.
And Christine.
So I believe that the motion carried, and so the extension request is denied.
Thank you all for your hard work. I know how much that takes, but obviously more to consider.
Thank you for your time. We'll be back.
So Ann, I'd like to see if we can, before we get into the applications, if we could have Matt Zook give us a state of our finances. I know it wasn't on the agenda, but it's something I think we should talk about first.
I know that
Matt, is Matt available?
He's online.
I see him on.
There he is.
I'm here.
Hi there, thank you so much. Could you go over the little memo that you, little sheet you put together and sent?
I'm glad you asked.
Thank you.
Ann, do you have that for display, or shall I share my screen?
If you have it ready, Matt, please go ahead.
Okay. And this, I believe, is the Enhancement Grant Program cash flow projection as of May 10th. Is that what you're seeing in the room there?
Not quite.
Okay, great. So just to recap.
We don't see it yet, Mike.
Hold on there, Matt. We need,
Matt, we don't have it up. We do not have it up.
I have a magic trick I could do in the meantime if you'd like.
Oh, I'd like that.
I would like that too.
Ditto.
Maybe transport the mayor here.
Yes, that's what he's gonna do. Or remember that one? Is it up?
it will be in about 30 seconds.
I could sing the I Dream of Jeannie theme.
I think it's up right now. There we go.
All right.
There it is.
Okay. So we began we're projecting to begin the next fiscal year with $704,000 of enhancement grant money on hand. That was the next line down where it says projected expenses for 2024 to distribute grants awarded in FY22 and fiscal year 23 that request extensions. Obviously, that was a portion of the meeting that we just completed. And there was $100,000 that was not extended, right? So rather than that being $155,000 reduction, it would be a $55,000 reduction with $100,000 being freed up to go back into the pot of funds available. So as was advertised, the grants for this upcoming cycle was for $300,000 in total. That's for the 23-24 fiscal year, and that would subtract another $300,000. And then the grant allows for up to $40,000 in program management fees. So as you see on the screen there, you would have a surplus on hand by the end of next year of $209,000. But now we add that $100,000 back in, and you have $309,000 on hand by the end of next fiscal year, without collecting another dime. Which move down the screen, and you will. We're projecting that we will receive $350,000 in Metro Enhancement Grant funds in this next fiscal year. So when you get that new money, by the end of next year, 2024, you would have rather than $559,000, you'd have $659,067 of unawarded Metro Enhancement Grant funds. So that's kind of the landscape to which you enter tonight's meeting for hearing the requests and kind of the latitude you would have to, make any modifications.
Thank you.
And you say the bottom line number one more time since I can't see the screen.
Yes. 659,067.
067. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And those are estimates because we have not yet received all of the money in this fiscal year from Metro Enhancement Grant. There's a 2-month delay generally on a quarterly basis that we get these funds. So there's some assumptions built in here, but it's a pretty reasonable assumption. So.
And if I could add,
questions of Mr. Zook?
if I could add something, Mayor, also, this is James Graham. If I can add something.
Hi, James.
So the allocation for this year is $300,000. Now, of course, if the committee wants to increase that, it certainly can. Obviously, we don't want to spend all the money that you have that's available, but $300,000 is the allocation, but you can decide if you'd like to increase that to something else.
Thank you.
So if I'm understanding the numbers
Are there any
correct,
questions of Mr. Zook?
Mike Mitchell has a question.
so if I'm understanding the numbers
Mr. Mitchell.
correctly, our projected revenue is $350,000. There's $100,000 that we just chose not to extend. So we could choose to spend grant $450,000 tonight, and our ending balance at the end of this cycle would be the same as our beginning balance, right? Because we're only going to spend what we're taking in. 100,000
Yeah.
from the non-extension and 350,000 in revenue.
That's correct.
So potentially we could do 450 and not harm our bank account.
Right, because this is on a cash basis. This is not an accrual basis. So we have the
Yes,
cash.
that's correct, Mr. Mitchell.
We have the cash.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Matt?
I don't think
Hey,
so.
Mr. Zook, thank you, but you're going to hang on because we'll have some more discussion later on. So I think we're ready to dive into the request. So how much time would you like to give the applicants?
Actually, point of order, there's
And-
one more
and 653.
extension that came in today.
Oh, no, that was supplemental to the Ermatinger
That-
House.
Oh, forgive me. Okay.
Yeah, no, you're fine, thank you.
We did do the Ermatinger House.
Yes, no, we did.
I was
Yeah,
mistaken.
We did.
Okay. All right. So first of all, again, I want to echo what Ann said and thank all the applicants for being here tonight. And we'll start with the Oregon City Arts Commission, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Trieste Andrews, I sit on the Oregon City Art Commission, and the grant that we're going for tonight is 2 parts. We have received a list from the planning department of all of the art in Oregon City. The first part is to have somebody come in, hire somebody that they'll review that list in priority of what needs to be restored or refurbished. There are art pieces that have been deteriorating for the last few years, also art pieces that have damaged beyond repair that have to be replaced. So that person will be conducting a study. They'll have a description of the item, the piece of art, what condition it's in, what needs to be done for restoration in order of priority, and then a cost. We'll be finding somebody that is familiar with mural restoration, also sculpture replacement, so somebody that's knowledgeable for that. The other part of the grant is to take that first one that's really in need of repair. We've chosen the sculpture that was damaged beyond repair by a car accident, the sculpture that was on Center and 7th Street, and we've used that as to be able to request in the grant for that is the first one that would be finished. We received notice that there was $5,800 in insurance payments for that because it was insured, and yet we found when we looked into it, that was really a cost of around $20,000 to $25,000 to replace. So that's what the grant is for tonight. That's it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Are there any questions? Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Doesn't look like. Thank you. Clackamas Art Alliance? Name and city of residence, please.
Hi, I'm Diane Alves. I'm the Executive Director of the Clackamas County Arts Alliance. And our post office box is in Oregon City. How's that? We cover the whole county. And so, but tonight I actually want to talk to you about the work we're doing in Oregon City. So the Arts Alliance is actually the arts and culture hub for the county. We are sort of the spoke to all things going on, arts and culture. But specifically what our proposal is about tonight is about the work we're doing in Oregon City, not only with artists, but creators, makers, writers, theater folks, all those kind of thing. We have multiple groups that we're working with. And we have different board committees. And so obviously people participate in those committees in a lot of different ways. A couple of projects that we've done recently and what's bubbled up from those projects is specifically what I wanted to talk to you about. And that is for the last year, we have been working with both our partners in Washington County and in Multnomah County on something called the Tri-County Arts and Culture Plan. And so for the first time, all 3 counties are coming together to create a new arts and culture plan. And why we've been doing that, we've been having lots of community conversations. And during those community conversations, what's bubbled up is during COVID and since then, lots of folks started doing what maybe was just a fun project in their garage. Maybe they're doing pottery, and they decided to do that during COVID. And now they're wanting to turn that into actually, is it just an added value thing for my home, and is it a way to make some extra dollars, or is it actually a business? Could I actually take something I really love and be a creator and a maker and turn it into a business? So what we're doing is taking those folks, bringing them all together, having a conversation with them, and bringing in some workforce folks to talk about creating a business plan for them to really look and see if the jewelry they're doing or the weaving that anything that they've been doing over this period of time, can it actually be turned into a business, or is it just, or not, and have them be able to figure that out. Because lots of community folks have been talking to us about that and how we could help them and how we could make that connection. So if we're awarded the money, that's where we'll be spending it for the most part, is helping those folks, getting them together, teaming them up with the folks from workforce to come in and sit down and have those conversations about creating a business plan and what that looks like, helping them get, maybe have guest speakers come to those committee meetings, and just supporting them in a way for them to figure out whether it's can move forward or not. That's really sort of the core of this. In case you don't know, right now, currently, we actually have, I think it's 24 artists from Oregon City that are working with us in our arts exhibit program.
Thank you very
And
much.
so you can see those pieces of art hung, in fact, right here in your own building. I don't know who's hanging here at the moment, but we currently have 17 galleries, 10 of which are in Oregon City.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are there any questions?
Question, so this money, if awarded, would not entirely be spent in Oregon City, though, correct?
No, it would be
Okay.
specifically, yeah, we would specifically spend it for this, in this community, in Oregon City, for these makers and creatives that want to do this work specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, Adam. My question was, how are you going to track the Oregon City artists specifically, since our grant funding is, as Adam stated, is for Oregon City residents within the boundary of our city? So you have a tracking method where you keep track of that, so we know that they're not in unincorporated Clackamas County with an Oregon City address, but they actually are Oregon City residents.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to get really specific on that, because normally we would just do a call out to Oregon City residents to see if they want to come and participate. We have a few that we would invite because we know those already. But yeah, you're right, Mayor, we might have to get really specific and say not the unincorporated areas, but for sure you have to live within the city limits. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's very,
Yep.
very specific. So the
Yep.
other thing I was going to ask is that, how will this play into the art exhibit program, which you mentioned in item number 9 as part of the measurement you would use for the program effectiveness?
Right. So as far as that goes, obviously we have currently in Oregon City, we have 2 3D cabinets. And so we're always looking for makers and creatives to come and put their things, if it's, maybe it's silversmith, or actually there's this amazing woman that does book carvings, if you've ever seen her stuff. But to actually specifically use the artists that we're meeting in that group to go ahead and include them in the artist exhibit program and have them, if they can hang something, that's one thing, but if not, we'll have them in the 3D cabinets and specifically bring them in and start to help them think about how they're displaying their items, how they price them, because that's the other thing, all of our art is for sale. And so how they can do some pricing, and really help them learn how to start to do that and move forward in those areas, so.
That's awesome. So they also probably, if they're starting to make it and sell it, they're probably going to need a business license.
That's right. Exactly. That's all part of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's fantastic. Any other questions, folks? Okay, let's move on to the Clackamas County Historical Society.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Greenwood, the Executive Director of the Clackamas County Historical Society in Oregon City. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about our new Timeline Hall exhibit that we're seeking funding for. It will enhance the existing exhibits at Moot by adding new experiential activities and content that shares the history and culture of Clackamas County. It will share stories that engage visitors to reflect on key events in Clackamas County history. Funding from the city will support the purchase of exhibit interactives to develop the visitor experience, including the cost of materials, equipment and supplies, and printing and mounting exhibit text. We will create an exhibit-based education program for students that aligns with the state content standards and activities that all visitors can interact with as they walk through the exhibit. CCHS was hit hard by COVID-19 as the closure of our museums decimated our revenue earned through in-person attendance and programs. Having a new exhibit at Moot will enrich the culture within Oregon City and draw tourists visiting from the Portland metropolitan area, Salem, and elsewhere. This year-long project will include a 500 square foot exhibit and accompanying education programs. We will use the Smithsonian guidelines for exhibit development throughout the process. We will also have an ADA accessibility audit done prior to actually beginning the building of the exhibit, the installation. And finally, we're going to seek feedback from other museums in Oregon and teachers from Clackamas County about the text, the content, as well as reaching out to the community to get their feedback. Museums provide a sense of community and place by celebrating a shared history. As a 2021 Institute for Museums and Library Sciences report concluded, museums are indispensable connective tissue that keep healthy communities together. The anticipated outcomes for the Timeline Hall exhibit are to develop an exhibit that appeals to new audiences and increases memberships in the Historical Society. Our goal is to double general attendance 1 year after the grand opening. Only 32 students visited during the 2022 calendar year. Our hope is that we can draw 1,000 students to the museum by January of 2025. What makes CCHS important to our communities is that we preserve and share powerful stories of people's lives and how Clackamas County has changed over time. Experiencing museums helps visitors understand how events in the past shape the present. We learn how people lived, overcame hardships, and can look at the past with the goal of creating a better future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Are there any questions for Steve? Mike, go ahead.
You said year-long. I assume the year is the
fiscal
installation.
year,
But
yeah.
that's the installation time. It's a permanent exhibit
Yeah.
once it's done, right?
So we'll start the research and gathering information in July 1st, and then the goal is to get the exhibit up and running by next spring.
But the end result is a permanent exhibit.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Question?
Are there other questions?
Yes?
Okay, I've got a, yeah, go ahead, Lori.
The ADA upgrades that you had mentioned in the survey, do you plan on covering that in a different budget that you already have, or would that be somehow taking away from the project funds that are requested tonight?
We are seeking, we've solicited funding from other organizations, from Clackamas County, from the Lantham Foundation. So we're hoping, piecing together additional funds to cover the total budget, to cover the audit, to cover any ADA
Upgrades. Okay.
accessibility improvements.
Okay.
Okay, Steve, I've got a couple of questions for you on items number 11 and 12 of the application. Number one, you don't really detail out what are the personnel services that you're using as a source of support or the construction costs. And then on number 12, you said you've applied for other funding. You did not list what amounts you were requesting from these other organizations. Could you tell us what that is?
Yes, we requested from the Marie Lantham Foundation $100,000, from the Oregon Cultural Trust $40,000, from the Strategic Investment Program $100,000. But again, no funding has yet been promised to us.
Are they in process, is what you were saying?
They are in process. And the reality with the exhibits is the last exhibit I did, we installed a whole museum. It was the Wells Fargo Museum in Portland. It was well over $1 million. Unfortunately, they decided to close that, but the museum budgets are very pricey, and it's really the cost of the fabrication and trying to make it relevant to the audience by having interactives. If you do foam core and cases, people will whiz through it and it's not relevant to them.
Yeah, and then but you've got construction costs as a source of in-kind?
That is correct.
Is that going to be constructed by volunteers?
Yes. Well, we have a great volunteer crew at Moot and Stevens Crawford Heritage House, and they are very talented with woodworking and can assist with the fabrication and construction.
And then the personnel services?
That would be, we have a volunteer collections manager and research historian, Jonna Hines, and she is indispensable in the process of research and helping us put together exhibits.
So, okay, thank you. That clears that up. So all, as you stated on number 12, all of these applications are in for the other grants, but they have not made any decisions as of yet.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions, folks? Okay, let's
Thank
move
you.
on then. Thank you, Steve. All right, we have next on deck, we have Clackamas River Basin Council.
ELC.
Here they come.
Clackamas Women's Services or Clackamas River Basin.
Hold up, Mayor.
Thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here.
there is CBRC is what, on our agenda it says CRBC, so it's not, she's going, here's the,
Hold up, Mayor. Hold up.
this is, the Clackamas River Basin Council. And on the agenda, it's listed as CRBC.
And in our packets, it's
Oh, okay. Well, I'll
ELC.
put you both things
That-
at the same time.
In the package, it should be CRBC.
I'm looking at your memo and the agenda. Oh, they can go ahead.
Do you have it? Okay. Go ahead and please introduce yourself.
I'm Eric Butler with Clackamas River Basin Council,
Dakota Hufford, Clackamas River Basin Council, Oregon City resident.
and we're an organization that serves the entire Clackamas River watershed from Timothy Lake to Clackamas Park, and that includes within Oregon City fair amounts of the two rivers and Park Place neighborhoods. So anyone who's spent time in Northern Oregon City, particularly along the river, appreciates the tree canopy around there and all the benefits it provides to the community. But I'm sure you've also noticed that there's a lot of ivy and a lot of clematis and other invasive vines that are invading these tree canopies. These present a real risk to losing this tree cover. CRBC, our organization, is famous for tree planting efforts. We have this program called Shader Streams that is established native trees and shrubs along over 40 miles of streams throughout the watershed over the last decade and a half. And but at the same time, if we're not also protecting the mature trees that are in place along our streams and rivers, it's really kind of canceling out the good work we're doing. So removing this ivy and this clematis is a really easy investment that's going to make a big difference for the health of our watershed and for the communities we're serving. And we can also choose to do this work in a way that's uplifting the communities we're serving.
Yeah, so through this community enhancement grant funding, we'll be working with the Living Room, another organization. We'll be creating a sustainable educational model that can be used in perpetuity, with the goal of creating opportunity for marginalized youth to engage with the natural world in a variety of ways. Upon receive funding, we would launch a series of surveys to both staff and youth to best gauge the interest of groups we would be serving. This ultimately would produce 6 workshops with customized curriculum, as well as job training and workforce development aspects. In speaking with James Blake, who is the program manager at the Living Room, they emphasized the real need for diverse programming for the youth that they serve. They highlighted that programming series like these custom workshops that we're proposing offer their at-risk youth that they serve clean and sober activities that would keep them from being tempted to pursue otherwise less productive activities. So this program would build connections, it would help youth build connections in different areas in resource management and the community at large in Oregon City. We intend to measure the success of this program through a series of metrics, heavily relying on a series of surveys. Attendance, participation, all of that will be collected. We would ultimately collaborate with the Living Room to work with them to get the metrics for a final report. And most importantly, this grant would help us to build a rigorous and repeatable metric for these types of outreach programs going forward.
And in terms of measuring the outcomes of our tree rescue efforts, there's an application called iTree Eco. It's actually very easy for anyone to use. I've run volunteer projects with this program. But essentially, you collect some fairly simple metrics around each tree. So things like species, the stem diameter, the canopy diameter, crown condition, things like that. And it all goes into a database and it calculates the economic value of all the trees in terms of things like stored water interception, shade provided, and savings for energy costs, air quality improvements, land values, and it generates a report that tells you exactly what you've done, tells you exactly everything that you've measured and what it's worth to the community. And so that's a pretty cool project. I'm hoping to be able to train our youth volunteers with and also our workforce. We've gotten
Thank you very
interest.
much. Time's up.
Sorry, all 3 minutes, sorry.
Thank you.
It's quick.
Are there any questions for them?
I've got one. So you mentioned
Go ahead.
that you work all the way from Timothy Lake down. So this grant funding, how will this grant funding be allocated to the portion of the river that's in the city of Oregon City?
Yes, we're working specifically within Oregon City. We're actually partnering with Greater Oregon City Watershed Council for them to do some work along Abernathy Creek as well. But we're expecting other funding to come in that's going to extend the work outside of the city limits. So anything that's outside of Oregon City, we have other resources we're expecting to be available for.
Okay, thank you.
And additionally, the living room does serve specifically Oregon City. They have an Oregon City location.
Okay, great, thank you.
So that's how the Oregon City Youth would be directly involved with this funding then?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
And we will likely
Any
do
other
volunteer.
questions?
We will likely have other volunteer events open to the public or work with other groups in the community as well to be determined.
Okay. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Go back
Thank
to, start with Clackamas Women's Services.
We do have a brief,
Summer,
have some
ladies, I
visuals
have
to
two
go with
different
this
agendas
one.
in front of me and I'm looking at both of them.
This one.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
One moment, Mayor.
Yes, James?
I need a copy of one of the applicants.
They can proceed. Just kidding, sorry, don't start. Yes,
No, this is
please.
Clackamas Women's Service.
No.
Go ahead, ladies.
I need that one.
Oh,
Yes.
excuse me, I'm sorry.
One moment, Mayor, because I have the timer.
I'm a distraction.
Clackamas Women's Services, go ahead, please.
No, now you can go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine Koch. I'm a Oregon City resident, and I'm also the Counseling and Youth Program Director over at Clackamas Women's Services.
I'm Brenda Kinoshita. I work at Clackamas Women's Services also.
I'd like to ask if this, members of the committee can see it on the, can you see me? You can, okay.
We're really excited to be here tonight, and we're going to be sharing a little bit about CWS and our youth advocacy program. So we have been serving Oregon City since 1985. We specifically work with survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, stalking, trafficking, and elder abuse. And we do this through a number of programs. So we have a 24-hour crisis line, as well as our emergency shelter and housing programs here in Clackamas County. And we have community-based services that are located over at a Safe Place Family Justice Center right here in Oregon City. And that includes our advocacy services. So those folks are the first point of contact for survivors coming into the center. They do protective orders, safety planning, a lot of systems navigation, as well as counseling and support groups, programs for children and youth, which I'll talk about in a minute, violence prevention education for K through 12 schools. We serve a number of the schools here in Oregon City, as well as legal supports in our Latina Services program. Since here I'm going to talk about our co-located youth advocacy program. Since we piloted that program in Oregon City School District this year, we've seen a significant increase in the support services we're providing to youth. Since September, we have co-located one person over at Oregon City. And our application said we had served a different number than I have for you tonight. We've actually served 35 students within the Oregon City School District and found that almost 80% of those students seeking services were seeking services related to sexual violence. And so the way that we work with students to ensure that they have access to safety and supportive services, including their families, is we provide a number of safety planning options. So helping students who are experiencing teen dating violence, domestic violence within their home, sexual violence, we work with them to create plans to help them stay safe. We do a lot of system navigation. So a lot of the families and youth we're working with may be navigating law enforcement system, criminal justice systems, DHS. So we want to be a partner with them through those processes. We do tons of emotional support, healthy relationship development. We support youth in building coping skills to recover from the trauma experiences that they've had, and do a lot of resource connection to ensure that students and families have access to holistic care right here in Oregon City. What we know doing this work and being part of the community, domestic and sexual violence can be incredibly isolating. And it's really important that we're supporting youth in breaking that isolation and creating a community of care around them. We know that the impacts of unmitigated trauma can have long-term health impacts, and we want to make sure that we can intervene and provide those supportive services that are really easy to access for youth before those long-term health impacts may happen. We've been really successful in doing this through deep collaboration and partnership with mental health providers, our Oregon City School District partners, law enforcement, and so many other organizations here in the community.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Okay, then let's move on. We have Clackamas Workforce Partners.
Yes, right.
Other questions?
Yeah, Clackamas Workforce Partners.
Yeah, Clackamas Workforce Partners, clean slate.
Yeah.
My name is Amanda Wall, and I work for Clackamas Workforce Partnership. I am a resident of Westland. I am here today to talk to you about Clean Slate Clackamas. It is estimated that of the 4.1 million people in the state of Oregon, 1.4 million people have a criminal record. To date, around only 112,000 of those qualify have applied for expungement. Launched in Clackamas County in March of 2022, Clean Slate Clackamas provides resources and support to individuals who have been involved with the criminal justice system. With just under 1,400 applications to this program, Clean Slate Clackamas has served 837 participants through the pro se process of expungement. Through Clean Slate Clackamas, it is our role to educate the population and to help create a more equitable workforce and true system change. Our program aims to increase access to justice, education, career changing, and to address the lasting impacts of incarceration and experiences with the legal system. Leveraging partnerships with services like public health to provide Narcan kits, children, family, community connections to provide space for our clinic and employment services, WorkSource Clackamas to provide wraparound employment services, and Clackamas Community College for education and training. These are just some of the examples of over the 50 providers that we have pulled together to make these clinics a success. One of our main successes involves a man by the name of Mike, who in his own words, made some really boneheaded choices in his youth. He told me that he had repeatedly paid for them ever since, for the better part of 20 years. Initially skeptical of the program, Mike was met at our clinic with open arms, and even more so, absolutely no judgment for his past. You never treated me with anything less than respect and kindness. I would never felt looked down upon, judged, or felt like I was less than anybody else. Now a fully expunged graduate of Clean Slate Clackamas, Mike has access to doors that he thought were closed forever. Better employment opportunities, access to housing, even a better credit score. Mike credits Clean Slate Clackamas with helping him turn his life around and giving him the tools he needs to overcome this barrier and the way to acknowledge the work that has been done to turn his life around. This is just one of the many stories that we hear on a regular basis. Clean Slate Clackamas has enhanced our community by making a positive impact and generational change, moving past the mistakes that were made and providing a true second chance throughout the community. With the support of the Oregon City Enhancement Grant, Clean Slate Clackamas can continue and even expand services to this community in 2023. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
Question. How do you intend on targeting Oregon City residents?
So of the 837 applicants that we have served, just over 200 are Oregon City residents. So
But to continue the work, how do you plan on targeting
through
additional?
outreach and direct services in the city of Oregon City and working to create a more inclusive community around here. Safer streets, reducing recidivism, things like that.
I have a follow-up question to Lori's, is that it would have been really great if that example you used, Mike, was from Oregon City, but I don't know whether he is or not, but I think in your information, it would have been good to show how many residents that you helped in Oregon City, and I hope when you do your closeout report that you document that, because again, we want to emphasize that, you know, you will have to segregate the funding to some degree to support Oregon City residents since the money's being generated in Oregon City.
Absolutely, that's
Other
not
than that, it sounds like a really great program.
absolutely, that's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, folks? Okay, so next up we have, is that Friends of Trees?
Friends of Trees.
Friends of Trees.
Hello, Alicia, I use she, they pronouns. I'm the Neighborhood Trees Program Manager at Friends of Trees, and we are a multi-city and county organization that serves Oregon City and has a contract with the city. Thanks for this opportunity to share with you about our work and why we applied for this funding. Friends of Trees has been planting trees and native plants in the metro region for over 30 years through community building, partner and municipality collaboration, and place-based learning. We've been working in Oregon City itself for over 20 years. This work has included tree plantings, tree prunings, educational workshops with community members, school groups, and local government. We've grown this relationship over the past several years, and we are proud of what we have accomplished. The contract we have with the city has provided funding for tree planting and, when possible, tree pruning as well. We grew this contract after the ice storm that you all know impacted Oregon City in a really dramatic way. Friends of Trees was able to plant over 200 trees in the years of this contract, and we were able to host pruning workshops for the community and community members. This was well complemented by the Oregon City Metro Enhancement Grant we received 2 years ago for the pruning efforts. Last year, due to shift in city fundings, we were not able to pursue our OC Community Enhancement Grant, but we were able to provide one pruning workshop. And it was evident that the residents were really interested in more opportunities to prune. We also identified there was a great need for more pruning in the young tree canopy of the city. Proper pruning of young trees will help prevent extensive damage during future unprecedented weather events. We are applying for this funding and also asking for increased funding for tree planting. Due to a reduced contract without the bump from the ice storm recovery funds, we are only able to plant about 100 trees this upcoming planting season. Oregon City residents are still repairing their landscapes from the 2021 ice storm and are very excited about trees. We started a waiting list this last spring because people were so interested in getting our trees. If we are awarded this grant and this funding, we'll be able to nearly meet our goal of 200 trees, and we'll be also able to give the residents pruning opportunities. We are grateful for the opportunity to work with the city and the residents and the local government, and believe our collaborative effort with the city will promote the tree canopy growth and care in Oregon City.
Fantastic. Are there any questions?
Question.
All right.
There is a question.
Yes, there is a question. You guys had mentioned that you have a contract with Oregon City and you're seeking additional enhancement grant funds. What's the delineation and purpose of the different funds?
Great question. The funds from the city is just for the tree planting itself, and they want to do one workshop, but the money was cut in about half, and so we're not able to provide, we only would be able to provide about 25 trees and no pruning workshop. So if we move forward, that would be for the full year, what we'd be able to offer Oregon City residents.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the Home Orchard Education Center.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Lordy. I am a resident of Oregon City. I am also the executive director of the Home Orchard Education Center. We started in operations in 2020. We took over a lease from a long-standing nonprofit that has property on the Clackamas Community College campus in Oregon City. We're right behind the Llewellyn building, over off of Marjorie Lane and Beaver Creek. It's a 1.6 demonstration orchard that was planted out in 1986. And the original building was built in 1986 as well. So we are requesting funding for our facility improvement project, which would help make some necessary upgrades to our building and our site that will help us, the Home Orchard Education Center, continue serving Oregon City and the Portland metro area with community building, workshops in relation to sustainable agriculture, primarily fruit growing, and we serve as a community orchard site where people from all over the Portland metro area come to recreate, learn how to grow fruit for their families, for their friends, and for their neighbors. Yeah. And so the funding that we're requesting would be to repair the roof on our shed, which is volunteer organizations have a lot of volunteer labor that's put in, and it's not always put in properly. So we've had a lot of wear and tear on the building over time. The walk-in cooler, which houses our fruit in the summer and our propagation material in the wintertime, is about 25 years old. Those 8x10 walk-in coolers are good for about 15 years. We're well past the time limit to get a new walk-in cooler so that we can store fruit. On 1.6 acres, we harvest about 11,000 pounds of fruit. And we're not even densely planted. And right now, that fruit is distributed amongst our community orchard volunteers. And another one of our funding avenues is a community-supported agriculture program, but we are trying to get away from community-supported agriculture so that we can give away our fruit to people in need in Clackamas County and Oregon City area. And last year we were awarded some funding so that we would be able to give away a quarter of our harvest this year to the Pioneer Community Center, and another quarter of our harvest is going to one of the shelter locations for Clackamas Women's Services. So we're absolutely thrilled to be able to do this work. We'll continue to teach about 46 workshops a year. We host over 700 students on site from Clackamas Community College, from the general public, as well as Portland Community College Landscape Design Program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Are there any questions?
Question.
Go ahead.
The roof will be installed by a licensed, bonded, insured contractor, not volunteer staff?
That's correct.
Just making sure. Not that I'm sure your volunteers aren't great.
They're wonderful, but I don't want any of them up on ladders like that.
That's all I had.
Any other questions before I ask mine? So again, how would this benefit Oregon City residents exclusively, since that's what we've been talking about, how the money's spent, where the money's spent, and who the money is given to?
Yeah.
You're mentioning a lot about Clackamas County, Portland, other areas, and I'm not seeing that.
Yep, so I understand. Exclusivity with Clackamas County or with Oregon City is probably not something I can promise. We are a metro-wide organization. When we were given the grant funding last year to give away majority of our fruit this year. We decided that we wanted to stay within Oregon City. So that was one of our kind of stipulations of where we wanted to go. We really want to stay as local as possible. I would imagine about 50% of the people who access our services are Oregon City residents. The rest are from the metro area.
You probably need to track them. I do appreciate your donations to the senior center. They are grateful, and it's much needed, and they really appreciated getting, fresh fruit, which is something that a lot of the seniors in the program do not get on a regular basis, which is, another story in itself, but it's made a difference.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, we're going to hear from Mary Rose Foundation.
Correct.
And that's probably the lovely Miss Heidi Blackwell.
You're correct, Mayor. So Heidi Blackwell, Oregon City. I'm the Director of Education at the Mary Rose Foundation, which is a local nonprofit that provides support for individuals struggling with eating disorders. And my job specifically is prevention work, educational presentations, small groups, help making connections for young people in our community. Last year I was here actually to propose the Mary Rose one-to-one mentoring program, and I'm excited to share the progress we made with that program. Starting in July 2022, we began recruiting mentors, establishing relationships with the schools, because at that point, this mentoring program didn't exist in the Oregon City schools. So we were able to recruit 23 individuals that expressed interest in being volunteers, specifically mentors in our schools, and 17 are planning to return next year. And these are college students, grandparents, business owners, so not your usual volunteers in the schools, people in our community that are interested in spending some time with students and really getting to know individual students well. The number of students also far exceeded the 25 we had proposed last year. Our main connection was with Gaffney Lane, which is one of the elementary schools. We had mentors read books with students, eat lunch, play games. The attendance reported by the schools, our school contacts reported that the mentors and mentees had both of them had excellent attendance. We have school contacts, parent information forms, and the mentor vetting process all established and ready to go in the next school year. At the middle school level, we concentrated on Gardner Middle School. We had mentors play math games, take part in the lunch buddy groups, and also do some arts and crafts with students. And again, we have that established and ready to go for next year with the needs that Gardner has expressed that they would like some additional volunteers. Oregon City High School, the Unity Committee, developed their own club, which is an after-school club on Tuesdays called the Activity Club, and brought in volunteers to share some different skills, knitting, baking. We had a lot of different people come in on Tuesdays, and students then filled out an exit ticket at the end. I did ask if they were Oregon City residents, and they all said they were, so that was self-reported. I asked if they enjoyed it. This is all self-reported via a QR code, so there was not interaction with them. But did you enjoy it? 5 being yes, very much, 1 not very much. And we got a 4.5 out of 5 of all the activities that the students reported. And most of their comments in the open-ended questions were around snacks. They liked the snacks. So we also partnered with Oregon City Service Learning Academy. They invited community members in on their Fridays, which are their project-based and service learning days. And so we had 3 business owners come in and throughout the year and give lessons on art, screen printing, and construction. So in the results of the 2022-2023 Oregon City School District Student Health Survey, 6.3% of the 11th grade students selected not at all true and asked if there was at least one teacher or adult at school that really cared about them.
Thank you.
And my next staff is really good.
Thank you, Heidi.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
I have one, sorry.
Okay, go for it.
You had mentioned that we gave you funds last year. How is this program, I guess, different, and how come you're not asking for an extension versus?
Well, we used the funds last year to pay for the program and get it going. So this would continue the program because mostly it paid for the project management. But we also heard from our mentors that they would like additional training. So we're asking for some money for some training for specific skills around behavior management, that are working with the younger kids wanted some help with teaching reading or how to do some coaching with reading. So we'd bring specialists in to help with that. The other ask was transportation. So we have a group of high school students that really want to go work with those middle school and elementary school students, and they're not allowed to drive themselves. But we have worked out something with transportation that we could charter buses to get them over there during the day to make that happen. So the project management, the transportation, and the additional training would be what we were asking for next year.
So you have funding to sustain your original program. This is for those additional, is that accurate?
Sure, yes. Yeah, right, the program's gonna go one way or another, yes.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have the McLoughlin Memorial Association.
Great progress.
Hello, my name is Marcia Ard, and I'm representing the McLoughlin Memorial Association. I'm the chair of the Rose Farm Committee. So giving a little bit of background, for the grant we're asking for, looking at what the criteria it is able to fulfill, it helps results in rehabilitation or upgrade in real or personal property owned by 501c, preserves or increases the recreational areas and programs within the city, improves the safety within the city, and enhances art and culture within Oregon City. So the William,
I just want to say welcome, Marcia, and there is a visual presentation that accompanies her.
Oh, yes, thank you, thank you. The William Holmes House is one of the oldest and most historic pioneer homes in Oregon, and it is a treasure for Oregon City. William and Louisa Holmes were pioneers who joined the Great Migration, arriving in Oregon City November 17th, 1843. The Holmes family settled on a 640-acre donation land claim, completing their 2.5-story colonial revival home in 1847. This place matters. If you go and look at our website, we have a photo of a number of us on the RFMC standing on the front porch of the Rose Farm. If we look at the population of Oregon City, I would love to see what percentage of Oregon City residents now live on that land grant. That would be an interesting statistic that we'll have to put together at some point in time. The Holmes House was the scene of early provisional government meetings and many social events. Joseph Lane, the first territorial governor of Oregon City, gave his 7-hour 1849 inaugural address from the Holmes balcony, looking down onto the front lawn that we're trying to improve. We have, through the history of the Holmes House, it was owned by Holmes family members until about 1917 or 18. After a period of time, it fell into disrepair, but a wonderful woman who is a preservationist and a historian, Ruth McBride Powers, purchased the property with her own money and provided an endowment to help with the financing of that home over a period of time. The McLoughlin Memorial Association and Rose Farm Management Committee are continuing to develop and maintain the Rose Farm front yard landscaping. So with the grant, we're proposing to continue an ADA accessible walk path from the front of the garden area, inviting Oregon City visitors to enjoy our beautiful gardens and particularly our rose beds. So the walkway would run along various beds. I think if you look at the picture, you can see where we're putting some of the walkway that would be ADA accessible for individuals to enjoy our gardens.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Okay, then let's move on.
Thank you.
We have the, I believe it's the McLoughlin Neighborhood Association.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
My name is Corinne Patel. I'm a resident of Oregon City in the McLoughlin neighborhood. The McLoughlin Neighborhood Association is generously sponsoring this grant tonight. I am here to talk to y'all about an serpentine ADA walkway, which would contain a community garden on the unimproved right-of-way of 6th and Jackson specifically. You'll note in my application packet that there are no permissions. This is the beginning of a research and development phase to look into how to take this very complicated city slope and turn it into something that benefits us all. This is at the confluence of 3 different neighborhoods, the McLoughlin neighborhood, the Eliville neighborhood, and the Rivercrest neighborhood. I have lived there for about 3 years, and every day I see people pick up their bicycles, their strollers, their children, or just turn away from the staircase entirely. It's a beautiful staircase. I know it has historic value, but what I would love to do is to see a beautiful and accessible walkway that connects these 2 sections of the city. I approached the city a couple of months ago and asked for permission to publicly explore doing this project. They all gave their best wishes. They look forward to seeing what we can accomplish. But accomplishing anything requires funding. Research and development to produce sketches, concept imagery, design plans for building review, for historic review, and for all the other players that would need this information requires funding. And so I'm here tonight to ask if you guys will help me put together something for the best of the entire city. That's all I have.
Are there any questions?
Yes.
I don't hear any.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Okay, go ahead.
I guess I see you have landscaping proposals in here for just site analysis, is that correct?
Correct.
And you have surveying in here. Do you have any letters of support from neighbors, community members?
Yes, included in the packet is a letter signed by all the neighbors with property abutting this particular site. Those are both owners and renters. Specifically, this funding would be used to retain designers, engineers, arborists. Everybody needed to come to a construction plan. The goal of this is to produce a draft construction plan that can be presented to the city for approval.
Oh, there was a couple of other questions. Anybody else? And just for the record, I'm sure you got it, Ann. Councilor Lewis has arrived.
Thank you. And my apologies, the Tri-County Planning Body for Housing went long, and then there was closure on 99E. Surprise.
Glad you're here.
Okay, seeing no further questions, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Is there a question?
No more questions.
Okay, all right, Oregon City Farmers Market.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jessica Land. I'm an Oregon City resident and also the Farmers Market Director of our local Oregon City Farmers Market. Today I'm coming to you in request of additional funding to help support our robust SNAP program that we have in place at the market, which is known as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps or EBT. This is a benefit that our customers can come to our market and access fresh food using their SNAP benefits. We in the year of 2022, we served a total of 1,500 SNAP recipients. We track by zip code, and the majority were Oregon City residents. We would like to offer an additional $10 match on their current benefits that would allow our customers to source greater amounts of fresh fruit and produce. With our increase in food costs, the ending of the pandemic EBT benefits, for a family of 5, that can result in a shortage of $200 a month in food benefits. Having an extra $10 in addition to our produce match from the Farmers Market Fund would enable our customers to help decrease food insecurity in their homes, also support our local farms, which are all the majority in Oregon City as well, and help increase a viable economic model for our community and the residents that live there. An additional benefit of added buying power allows our customers to also buy in bulk, learn how to preserve, can access storage crops, and have greater food security in the leaner months. We're a year-round market, so, and also the only one in Clackamas County. So this would even benefit folks in January when seasonal produce is not at its best, but thankfully we have certain farms that grow locally and specialize in winter produce. So it allows for a year-round access that's of benefit to all. And again, increasing economic viability for our small farms. We are grateful for the opportunity to have a market here in Oregon City. We're grateful for the city and county support, and we hope to continue making Oregon City a destination. Thank you.
Are there any questions? So Jess, I think last year we mentioned that you're going to need to segregate your Oregon City zip code even further, because just because you have an Oregon City zip code does not mean you live in the city limits. If you live out on Redland Road, you could have an Oregon City zip code.
Okay, we could perhaps ask for addresses in addition to zip code then?
Yeah, I think that would tell you how many Oregon City residents you have.
Okay.
Specifically.
That sounds good, thank you.
No, that was basically my question. Would we be able to segregate so that the funding went to Oregon City residents?
Yes, with the addition of addresses along with that zip code, and we do track it separately, so that would allow us to delineate local residents from any outlying areas, as Mayor said, Redland Road and such.
I have a question.
Great, thank you so much. Any other questions?
Lori has
Yes.
a question. Go ahead.
Lori, go ahead.
With the bounty of grants we have, obviously there's limited funding. If we cannot support your grant, can you still continue to reimburse SNAP purchases, or how does that work for you?
We would still be able to reimburse SNAP purchases. There would just be less economic value for customers and less revenue for our farms. So it was a way to help boost both our economy and food security in Oregon City households.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so next up we have Oregon City Together.
Hi there, my name is Ann Haynes. I am the Outreach Coordinator for Oregon City Together, based here in Oregon City. I am supported by Maureen Palero, our Coalition Chair, and Michelle Stroh, she's a Coalition member and the mom of a fentanyl poisoning victim, Keaton. First of all, thank you, Mayor McGriff, City Commissioners, Metro Councilor Lewis, and committee members for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about our proposed safety enhancement project. We're seeking $13,000 to continue our community efforts to increase awareness of the dangers of fake pills and fentanyl. We believe this is critically important to the safety and well-being of our Oregon City residents, especially youth and young adults. Fentanyl is here. Just in the last year, we've had several large seizures in Oregon City by the Oregon City Police, even within 1,000 feet of our high school. And just recently, in the last week, we've had another seizure of a large amount of fentanyl that contains xylazine, which is another drug that's not reversible by Narcan, which is very scary. So in this ever-changing and emerging environment, we believe youth must be aware of the danger, and parents today must know how easily their children can obtain deadly fake pills. A safe community is a community where all residents know that only a few grams of fentanyl can kill them in less than 5 minutes. Fentanyl is deadly, and increasing awareness around it is urgent. OCT and our partners are already working on this issue. We organized a community work group last year with the objective of creating awareness around this issue. This group now includes coalition members, school nurses, concerned parents, school principals, a school board member, and a police captain. This is a major concern for the community, especially for our law enforcement. Just last month, our work group hosted a community forum and 8 school assemblies to educate parents and youth. Oregon City Police, the DEA, parents of children poisoned by fentanyl, and school counselors participated in this forum. This grant, should we get it, will fund the next wave of our awareness campaign. The multi-pronged effort will include community outreach, parent education, and youth engagement, specifically to maintain our community work group, and then work with a group of high school students to create a campaign to reach them, and then continue our effort aimed at parents, including social media, billboards, grocery bag inserts, and presentations. And then we will measure our outcomes with our annual parent survey, the campaign reach, and youth participation. So we thank you for considering OCT's proposal to create a safer Oregon City for all of our residents, especially our youth. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much. Are there questions, committee? I don't see any hands.
Correct.
Rocky, you have a question?
No?
No? Okay. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And I'll call up the Van Haverbeeks with Park Place Neighborhood Association, who've been waiting very patiently.
Well, no, Mayor, we have OCT.
That was OCT.
That was OCT.
Yep, so Park Place.
Together.
That was OCT.
Okay, I won't delay the meeting any further.
Yeah.
You were helpful.
We'll get one more, and then we'll do the last one, and then we'll take a break. So we're taking a break after this one. All
Yes,
right.
yes, ma'am.
Oh, I should have.
Thank you so much.
Better stay out for this.
Good evening, folks. My name's Jerry Herman. I run a nonprofit called Rivers of Life Center. I have Jackson Talby on my left. He's one of our crew leaders for our organization and Oregon Youth Corps. We're in 24th year of being a part of the Oregon Youth Corps. We're the main providers in Clackamas County, which is part of your grant there, matching and so forth. And over here on the other side is Riley McAllister. He does a lot of the research on projects that we do where we want to look at a final result of perhaps cultural history, which we'll talk about. And of course, Jackie Hammond is the applicant here with the Park Place Neighborhood Association. I want to be the provider of services and work with the youth and that type of thing while my eye heals.
Good evening, Jackie.
Can we, Jack, speak, please?
Yeah, good evening. Jackie Hammond-Williams, Oregon City Park Place Neighborhood. I'm the treasurer of the Neighborhood Association. We have an absolutely drop-dead beautiful park in Oregon City, but it has a story that needs to be told. And we're terribly excited about this project. If funded, it will provide 800 feet of trail in an otherwise inaccessible woodland. Some people are trying to force their way through the woodland right now, but it myself included, but we want to make this a really nice walking path. This is just the beginning, but even so, we're very excited about this. So 800 feet of walking path will go through a woodland area in our park, and our park is on 3 tiers. So there's the woodland coming down the hill, then there's a fairly level, flat area, then it slopes down with a kids' park, Playground, yes, thank you. Which again was a Metro Enhancement grant that I think we got in 2019 that we, the neighborhood, put in our own kids' playground. And then it levels off into a lovely kind of grassy field area. But the whole site looks out across the valley. So it is absolutely beautiful. But it just needs a little more enhancement, and we need to also tell the story. And by that, I mean we have some great heritage trees that have been designated. Nobody going to the park really knows that they're heritage trees, doesn't know that this oak is almost 300 years old, doesn't know that these Atlas cedars are pretty rare to have 6 in a row, and they're at least 90 years old. There's some magnificent other Douglas firs and native plantings, and the schools that I've spoken spoken to. And I have a letter here that came in late. I wasn't able to submit it. It sat on the lady's desk and she apologized. But they really, really want to involve their kids in this park. And our interpretive signage, which will tell the history of the area, the geology, which Jerry can talk more about, which is amazing, the cultural and historical significance, as well as the plantings. This is a story that needs to be told. Thank you.
So the cultural history aspect
Any questions?
that we were hoping to talk about.
You're done.
Jerry, we have to take questions
Jerry?
now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, everybody doesn't get 3 minutes, each person, you just get 3 minutes separately. So are there any questions of the Park Place Neighborhood Association applicant?
No.
Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for making the presentation.
Thank you.
And I think that the committee probably is ready for a break.
That's probably a good idea.
So how long would you like?
Give us 15 minutes, Mayor. We have to tally up.
Well, we have,
Why don't we go through the rest?
Yeah, because we're going to take a break anyway for them to tally the numbers.
You got a question?
There's a question about the additional proposals.
Say again?
Mike, do you want to just repeat your question?
Mike, there are no additional proposals.
Yes, there are.
I'm with you. I read them this morning and
I mean, we got them, but they did not.
I might
On
need,
our
I might
agenda,
need
we
a couple
only have
minutes, guys.
14 applications.
Okay.
These applications came in late.
In my staff report, we made a distinction between these 14 that we've just heard from and then 5 additional organizations that did submit proposals, but they didn't have the right letters of support. And we did sufficiently, so.
You did what?
We gave folks some additional time to try to get those letters together, but they did not come in by June 1st. So.
How much additional time did they get?
They got an additional 6 days. And 2 of them did bring in those, we did get 2 additional, but it was, given the fact that we already are beyond our, the amount of monies that we have, they went to the bottom of the list.
I got to get on my soapbox for a second.
Yeah.
We have got to be clear about what we want, to be fair to applicants. What it says in the documentation, it says a letter of support. And then it says, in parentheses, e.g., which means, for example, neighborhood association, business association, or government entity. And I don't think it was fair to exclude groups that did provide a letter of support, which we asked for, but they weren't specifically from one of those types of agencies. I understand the interpretation. I don't agree with it. If we want to require a letter from one of those 3 types of agencies, we wanted to say, we need a letter of support from one of these 3 types of agencies, period, not provide examples. So that's troubling. So I just wanted, all we can do at this point, I guess, is clear it up for next year.
yeah, I actually thought we
I
were.
would concur with you. I think staff did an excellent job in having an orientation session and being very clear with applicants. My concern is that the packet is a total group. And we have to be fair to people who get everything in on time as specified, as opposed to those who are unable to. And so I think, again, we're talking about these people possibly reapplying for next year, but I think we have 14 complete applications that we have reviewed and looked at, and that's where we need to go. So I will again call for the break so that staff can complete the rest of the work and we can decide whether we're going to readjust our schedules or whatever. So let's take a break. It is, let me look at my computer here.
7:41 here in Portland.
Yes. So let's take a break and come back at 15 minutes from 8:41.
Thank you, ma'am.
you were applying.
Right, folks, we're gonna resume.
Would be if you were.
We're going to resume our meeting.
Yeah, that's not a
Connection, so just in case.
Just let me know when Steve's ready.
I think Steve is ready.
Okay. All right, we'll reconvene the meeting. And the one piece of business I forgot to do at the beginning is that we need to declare if we have any affiliations with any of the applicants. So I'll start with Lori.
None.
Rocky?
Not any direct ones. I'm in the McLoughlin neighborhood. I live in the McLoughlin neighborhood. I'm a teacher at Oregon City High School in the school district, which some of these groups work with. And I'm also on the Oregon City Heritage Coordinating Committee, which works with a couple of the organizations.
Okay, not a conflict. Christine?
No formal affiliations with any of these groups.
Mike?
No affiliations with any of the groups.
Yes, Adam?
No conflict of interest.
And I am, like Rocky, live in the McLoughlin neighborhood. I was not at the meeting when they voted on that particular project, so I didn't know anything about it till I saw the grant application. But I am abstaining from the McLoughlin Memorial one because I'm on the board of the Rose Farm Management Committee and a trustee of the McLoughlin Memorial Association. But I did not participate in the discussion. So is Mr. Zook ready?
I don't know.
Or as I like to call him, Mr. Wizard. Oh, that is so cute. Where is Mr. Wizard?
We just gave Matt a couple of updated scores, so let's give him another couple minutes yet.
I don't know, the other day he was telling me how fast he was with Excel spreadsheets.
The man is fast, the
You know,
man is fast, yes.
This is just kind of this might be a little disappointment.
I was listening to the whole time.
I'm not busted. He can't do anything to me.
Could we step outside for a moment?
Why don't you come here? You can come here.
Okay. All right, Mayor, I do have the tabulations finalized.
Hey, you want to share a screen?
I would love to share the screen.
That would be absolutely delightful, because I'm sure everybody there is waiting with bated breath. And thank you again, everybody, for all of your work and reading all of these. I know it was not easy. I read all of mine after I got to Toronto.
Thankfully, they're so.
What you were, not certain what you were seeing.
We
can see the screens, yeah. Thank you for zooming in, that was very helpful.
So you don't have them in order by highest to lowest?
They are not at this point, but let's do that.
This is you showing your fabulous Excel skills.
What?
I'm impressed.
So.
Oh, gosh.
I need this piece of paper. I want a copy of this piece of paper. Okay, so these are the results. I've sorted this by the average score, and this is an average of, let me make a correction. With let's stop the share for a moment.
Not to micromanage math, but I don't think you want a 0 in there. I think you want an NA for the last line. The 0 hurts you on your average.
Yeah, it does. That's what I was going to suggest as well. Thank you, Christine.
full screen time on there.
Okay. I've treated this as an abstention and taken the average of those that did vote.
Thank you.
So here's the order. I've also provided with, on this spreadsheet, the original award request, which does total up, these 14 total up to $466,000.
We're not seeing your screen, Matt.
You need to reshare, please.
Oh,
It's not up yet. You gotta share it.
I'll do that again.
Just so everyone in the audience knows, so everyone on the enhancement grant had the committee worked and scored these prior to tonight, and then the reflections that, the additions or changes that are happening now are happening because of, as a result of the presentations.
Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes,
Yes.
we're able to see the screen now.
Okay. Turn it back to you, Mayor. The rank by average score. Obviously, you have in excess of the 300,000. So from here, I'll turn it back over to the committee to direct the discussions.
Okay, committee, is there discussion on how we want to do the funding? Anybody?
Total ask, yes.
Anybody got their hand raised? Because I can't quite see you because of the share screen, but I was going to make a suggestion that, based on our scores, that we go ahead and, recommend that we fund everything, since we have enough funding, unless somebody has an objection.
Yeah, I don't think I'm in favor of that.
I agree.
Okay, well, I was asking for a discussion and another proposal.
Well, I'll start by suggesting that we not fund the McLoughlin Neighborhood Association. It's at the bottom of the rankings, and from the sound of the presentation, it was for planning purposes. And I mean, I think we need to see some sort of an outcome from these, and not just a plan. So my suggestion would be to not fund that one.
Well, you're correct, Mr. Mitchell. It does say you have to have a physical improvement. Does anybody else have a suggestion to that or an objection to that? Number 17.
I second omitting 17.
Okay, I'm not sure she heard.
I don't think your microphone's on.
I'm not hearing anybody.
There was a second to that.
Is the red button.
Okay, there was a second.
Yes.
Okay, do we want to vote on that?
There was a second.
There was a
and,
second, so we need to vote on it.
Lori made the second. None of her microphones are working for some reason. But
Okay,
she made
all right, so on the motion to remove item number 17, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Any abstentions?
There were
I
none.
will abstain.
Okay.
So it passes. All right, so further discussion? Or a motion to approve the rest of them, or none of them, or some of them?
So what is the dollar amount if we remove that one?
There, here's updating.
He's getting ready to do that right now.
Okay.
I'll move to allocate $434,211 to the items listed in rows 6 through 16.
I'll second it. Okay, is there a motion, is there any further discussion? Let's call for the vote. So let's go down let's do roll call.
Lori Arinello?
Aye.
Counselor Christine Lewis,
Yes.
Commissioner Rocky Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell,
Aye.
Commissioner Adam Marls,
Yes.
and Mayor Denise McGriff.
Aye. All right, we're basically done. Is there any further discussion?
We are not going to discuss the.
You guys did a yeoman's amount of work. Thank you, and thank you to all the applicants as well.
Do you have a follow-up question, Lori?
We're not going to discuss the ones that
Mr.
didn't
Graham, do you have
qualify.
any parting words?
Remove those from,
Well, hold on, I think Lori has a,
are we going to discuss
Yes,
the ones
Lori.
that didn't qualify? Sorry, none of my notes were working.
the question was, are we going to discuss the ones that we didn't qualify? And that's not usually what we do in terms of order.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it isn't.
Okay.
They have the opportunity to apply next year.
Okay.
And if anyone is in the audience that is one of the applicants, congratulations, everybody. As the staff coordinator, I'll be reaching out to everybody with letters of agreement and talking about next steps and how we prepare those letters. But thank you, everybody, for your attention, your hard work, and especially our committee. Thank you for all of your work.
And Mr. Zook, Mr. Graham, and Ms. Griffin, thank you for all your work. We appreciate it. And it's not easy putting all this together, but you guys did a great job, and thank you again.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
The ones that the staff